Okay, so imagine stepping back in time for a second, like way back. Before all the slick commercials, the digital ads we see literally everywhere now.
Yeah, it was a totally different world. Advertising wasn't really, well, it was often seen as kind of a gamble, right?
A bit shady, maybe.
Exactly. Maybe even a bit disreputable.
Uh-huh.
But then uh, this figure emerges, a real pioneer.
Claude C. Hopkins.
That's the one.
Mm.
And his life experiences, his relentless focus on like actual results,
Mm-hmm.
it just completely reshaped marketing as we know it.
And his autobiography, My Life in Advertising, it's not just his story, is it? It's more like a foundational text for the whole field.
Absolutely. Yeah. For this deep dive, we're going right into his own words. From the autobiography itself, we're pulling out the key insights, the real gems of knowledge.
It feels like a masterclass from, a totally different era, but somehow still incredibly relevant.
That's the amazing thing. It really is.
So our mission here is to figure out how Hopkins's, unique background and these principles he developed, scientific advertising, he called it, how that made him so incredibly successful, so influential.
Right. And crucially, how you can still use these lessons today. I mean, whether you're selling something, trying to connect with people, or honestly just trying to understand why people do what they do.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's unpack Claude Hopkins. So before he was even writing ads, his early life, his childhood, that seems to have really set the stage for his whole philosophy. What was going on there?
It's pretty striking when you read about it. His mother, she was college educated, a widow.
Yeah.
She instilled this real sense of conservatism, he calls it, thrift, caution, hard work.
Industry.
Industry, yeah. He actually believed that the lack of those qualities, that's what wrecked more advertising men, more businessmen than anything else I know. Strong words.
Wow. And his own work ethic was just intense from a young age, wasn't it?
Unbelievable. Supporting himself from age 9. Think about that. School janitor, delivering papers to like 65 homes, handing out bills, church janitor, even farm work, 16 hours a day sometimes.
16 hours.
Yeah. He literally said he lived 2 years in one just through sheer effort.
And then there's his father's side. That brought, poverty, but it seems like that hardship actually became a kind of advantage for him later on.
It's one of the, I think, most powerful takeaways from his early life.
Yeah.
That poverty meant he grew up among what he called the common people.
Okay.
And he got to understand them deeply. He realized, hey, these people, they form 95% of our customers.
We're at 95%.
Yeah. And he was really blunt about it. He said, I am sure that I could not impress the rich, for I do not know them, but I do know the common people.
So that became his foundation.
Absolutely. Grounded his whole approach. Simple words, short sentences, speak their language because he knew their language. He'd lived it.
He even credits being a door-to-door canvasser with teaching him the most I know about human nature as applied to spending money. What do you learn ringing doorbells back then?
Well, it's a world away from clicking boost post, isn't it?
Huh. Yeah, just a bit.
He learned practical stuff. Like he saw these street fakers, pitchmen. They never tried selling without a demonstration. Show, don't just tell.
Okay. Makes sense.
And he got the importance of traced results super early. He'd offered to distribute flyers, say, to 1,000 homes for $2, but he'd guarantee one per home.
Ah, unlike the competition.
Right. Others might charge $1.50, but just toss them around vaguely. He proved his method got better returns, and pretty soon he had a monopoly.
To prove your value, tangible results.
Exactly. Right from the start.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing in those early selling days, right? He had setbacks, and those seemed just as important for shaping his thinking about people. That Alan Pinkerton book story is pretty telling.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. It really drives home his point about, not assuming everyone thinks like you. His mother's advice was, get the leading men first. Standard advice, maybe.
Okay.
So he goes to the mayor, this Mr. Rezig, trying to sell him a book about Alan Pinkerton. Pinkerton was like a huge detective hero for boys back then.
Right.
But the mayor, deeply religious guy, he apparently just throws the book back at Hopkins, saying something like, you're welcome here, but your book isn't. An Alan Pinkerton book is an offense to everything I stand for.
Wow. Harsh.
Yeah. And Hopkins called it a revelation. It taught him, boom, people in general could never be judged by ourselves. Your audience has their own values, their own worldview. You got to respect that.
And that lesson seems like it fed directly into his first kind of big advertising gig at Bissell Carpet Sweepers.
Absolutely. Bissell. That's where he really started applying these ideas.
Yeah.
And interestingly, he ended up clashing with a huge name in advertising at the time, John E. Powers.
Powers, right. The guy known for brutal honesty, like advertising bankruptcy.
That's him. selling rotten Macintoshes, that kind of thing. But Hopkins, who was, get this, just a ledger clerk at the time.
Just a clerk.
Yeah. He felt Powers knew absolutely nothing about carpet sweepers.
Hmm.
Or, more importantly, he never gave one moment to studying a woman's possible wish for a carpet sweeper.
Ah, the customer focus again.
Exactly. So Hopkins, the clerk, writes this pamphlet in like 3 days. Completely contradicts Powers' technical approach. No talk of broom action or patent dumping devices.
So what did he focus on?
On what women would understand and appreciate. The benefits, the ease, the way it made their lives better. And that little pamphlet, it actually helped Bissell win a lawsuit against Powers.
No way, the clink beats the dean of advertising.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
And it just hammers home. Understand the customer's world, not just your product specs.
So then he gets a bit bolder. He wants to boost Christmas sales for sweepers, but his idea gets laughed at by the sales directors.
Oh, yeah. They thought he was nuts. First, he proposes sweepers as the queen of Christmas presents, which, okay, maybe a little dramatic for the time.
A bit much, maybe.
But then came the real kicker, the 12 woods to the dozen idea.
Yeah.
He wanted to offer Bissell sweepers in all these fancy, distinguished woods. Bird's eye maple, walnut.
Sounds ambitious.
It was. The factory superintendent, this Mr. Johnson, apparently almost had a breakdown trying to work with vermilion wood, said it was like iron, couldn't even hammer brads into it.
So, production nightmare.
Total nightmare. Hopkins had to compromise only 3 vermilion sweepers per dozen. But the whole experience just reinforced his core belief. You have to test things. You must always experiment. Don't just assume an idea will work or won't work. Try it. See what happens.
Okay, this next step feels like a huge jump. Swift and Company, we're talking meatpacking giant, right? And the boss, G.F. Swift, had contempt for ad guys, compared them to poets.
Yeah, that's the quote. The same contempt for an advertising man that a general must have for a poet. So not exactly a welcoming environment.
How did Hopkins even get in?
Well, he was one of over 100 applicants for the ad manager job. Apparently got forgotten eventually. And his big challenge was this product called Côte de Suède.
Côte de Suède.
Yeah, it was a compound lard, basically a competitor to the already super successful Cottolene. Hopkins himself said it was like combating ivory soap with another white soap today.
So a tough sell.
Extremely tough. Sales were terrible after 6 weeks. They needed something big, fast.
And big is what they got. This is the largest cake in the world story, isn't it?
This is it. The scale of this is just amazing. He arranges to have this absolutely enormous cake baked using Côte de Suède, puts it on display at the grand opening of Rothschild & Company's big new store.
Just as a spectacle?
Well, yes, but here's the genius part. Over 100,000 people came to see it in a week. They had to climb 4 flights of stairs. The crowds were so huge, the authorities actually shut the door sometimes.
Insane.
But here's the hook. To guess the cake's weight, which everyone wanted to do, you had to first buy a pail of Côte de Suède.
Ah, there it is. Forced trial.
Exactly. Instant sales. It put Côte de Suède on a profit-paying basis in Chicago almost overnight and created thousands of new users. He then rolled this out across the East Coast.
How did he scale it?
Got leading bakers in other cities to provide carloads of Côte de Suède in exchange for him building and advertising the cake there. Hired boys to run around shouting, "All about the big cake." It was pure spectacle driving direct sales.
Incredible. But then came maybe an even harder challenge. Selling Côte de Suède for more money than Cottolene, the established competitor. The sales team thought it was impossible.
Right. How do you justify a higher price when the market leader is cheaper? This is a classic marketing problem.
So what did Hopkins do? Fly out there himself?
He went to Boston himself, yeah. But get this. He didn't try to sell Côte de Suède directly to the bakers. Instead, he sold them pie cards and schemes.
Pie cards?
Yeah, like advertising materials. He offered a streetcar ad featuring a pie, and he gave exclusive rights to use it in their area, but only to bakers who bought Côte de Suède at the higher price.
Clever. Creating value beyond just the product.
Precisely. And the result. He sold more Côte de Suède in 1 week than 6 regular salesmen had sold in the previous 6 weeks. It proved his point. Real salesmanship has no regard for price if you offer the right value proposition.
And that led to one of his core principles, didn't it? Something about offering a favor.
Yeah, he said, I never tried to sell anything. I always offered a favor, which sounds a bit counterintuitive maybe.
A little.
But he distilled it down. All good salesmanship, in print or in person, is based on some appealing service. Think about it. Free trials, money-back guarantees, setting cigars on approval, books for examination.
Letting people try before they commit fully.
Exactly. Removing the risk, offering value up front, making it easy for them to say yes. That's classic direct response thinking, and it's still powerful.
Okay, so his career really takes off when he joins Lord and Thomas, the big ad agency, becomes president eventually, and this is where he really digs into scientific advertising.
Yeah, this was his prime time. Started at $1,000 a week, which was astronomical then.
Mm-hmm.
Later, on commission, he earned up to $185,000 a year.
Wow, and mostly just him typing away.
Largely, yeah. Without a clerk or secretary, he claimed. He also ran this internal advisory board. And interestingly, they often advised clients not to advertise if the product or strategy wasn't right.
Really, turning down business.
Yeah, he believed that mistakes and disasters hurt advertising as a whole. Better to prevent a failure than risk damaging the reputation of the industry or the agency.
That's quite principled.
It is, and it ties into his famous reflection. I made so many great successes simply because I made so many mistakes in a small way and learned something from each. I made no mistake twice.
Learning from failure, systematically.
Like a scientist. Test, measure, learn, iterate. Don't repeat errors.
Okay, let's talk about one of those seemingly hopeless propositions he tackled. Liquozone. 4 ad guys failed before him. Company basically bankrupt.
Yeah, Liquozone was a germicide, and it was in dire straits. Heavily in debt, net worth some $45,000 less than nothing. Just a total mess.
So how do you even approach that?
His solution was, well, radical, like usual for him. First, he did his homework, went to Toronto, visited institutions, and satisfied himself that the product actually worked. Due diligence.
Crucial first step.
Then he crafted this offer he called irresistible. The headline was basically, let us buy the first 50-cent bottle.
Free.
Essentially, yes. They sent out orders that people could take to their local druggist for a free bottle. Total risk removal for the customer.
Okay. Then what?
Then, for those who liked it, they offered a bulk deal. $6 bottles for $5 with a signed money-back guarantee. If you weren't satisfied, every penny would be returned.
Wow. That's confidence in the product.
Huge confidence. And it worked. They got over $100,000 in orders from druggists just by mail based on this offer. That money was then assigned back to the ad agency to clear the debt.
Incredible turnaround based on a super compelling risk-free offer.
Exactly. As Hopkins put it, I have always taken chances on the other fellow. I have analyzed my proposition until I made sure that he had the best end of the bargain. Give the customer the advantage.
Let's switch gears to another famous one, Schlitz beer. The challenge there was purity, right? When every brewer was claiming their beer was pure.
Yeah, pure was like the generic buzzword of the day. Everyone said it, so it meant nothing.
Yeah.
Hopkins knew he couldn't just shout pure louder.
So what was his angle?
Specificity. Demonstration through facts. He actually toured the brewery, learned about their process, and then he advertised the details that other brewers just took for granted, things they thought were commonplace.
Like what kinds details?
Things like cooling the beer in plate glass rooms with filtered air, filtering it through whitewood pulp, cleaning pipes twice daily, cleaning the bottles 4 times by machinery.
Stuff nobody else bothered mentioning.
Exactly. Getting water from 4,000 feet deep artesian wells, even though they were right next to Lake Michigan. Aging the beer for 6 months, developing a unique mother yeast cell after 1,200 experiments.
Wow, those are concrete facts.
They are. And they painted a picture of extreme care and, well, purity without just using the empty word. It was so effective, the story goes, that Cyrus Curtis, the publishing magnate, who didn't even drink beer, read one of these ads.
Yeah.
And was so impressed by the commitment to purity described, he ordered a bottle just to try it.
That's the power of specifics. Showing, not just telling.
Precisely. Turning mundane operational details into compelling proof points.
And he did something similar for Quaker Oats with puffed grains, didn't he? They were struggling too.
They were. Sales were declining. First thing Hopkins did was rename them. They were called wheat berries. It was pretty boring. He changed it to puffed wheat. Much better branding.
Okay.
Then he dug into the process. He found out the grains were literally shot from guns. That process exploded every food cell and made the grains puff up to 8 times normal size.
Shot from guns. That sounds dramatic.
It does, and he leaned into it. He coined the phrase, food shot from guns. Apparently people laughed at first, thought it was ridiculous.
I can imagine.
But he also added these amazing specifics. 125,000 steam explosions, one for every food cell. He gave it a persona, too, creating this Professor A.P. Anderson as the inventor.
Making it scientific and exciting.
Yeah, and one other key thing. He stopped just handing out free samples everywhere. Promiscuous sampling, he called it.
Why stop?
He only offered samples via coupons in the ads. The idea was you create the interest first with a compelling story, then you offer the sample to people who are already intrigued. Much more efficient. Target your trial.
Makes sense. It really seems like his genius was in reframing products, finding that unique angle, even for something like toothpaste with Pepsodent. How do you make toothpaste exciting and dominate globally?
Where again, it came down to finding the right psychological hook. He admitted the initial technical stuff about Pepsodent seemed kind of dry reading.
Yeah, toothpaste science isn't usually gripping stuff.
Right. But then he stumbled upon this idea of the mucin plaques on teeth, that visible film. And he had this insight. People will do anything to cure a trouble, but little to prevent it. People might not care about preventing cavities way down the line, but they do care about that gross film they can feel right now.
Ah, the immediate problem.
Exactly. So he positioned Pepsodent not just as a cavity fighter, but as a creator of beauty, because it removed that ugly, tangible film. It addressed a present concern.
That's a brilliant shift in focus. Did he back that up with specifics too, like with Schlitz?
Absolutely. He applied the same rigor elsewhere, like with Palmolive shaving cream. He did tons of research into what men actually wanted, and then used hard numbers to show Palmolive delivered. It multiplied lather 250 times. The beard absorbed 15% of water in just 1 minute. The lather stayed full for 10 minutes. Real, measurable claims.
Not just great shave.
No atmospheric claims, as he called them. Just facts and figures. And that focus, that psychology, that specificity, that's what took Pepsodent global. 52 countries, 17 languages. He said, I made for myself $1 million on Pepsodent just because by countless tests I learned the right human psychology.
Find the problem, offer a specific, provable solution, test everything.
That was the Hopkins way.
So, pulling back a bit, throughout his career, he had these core principles, these non-negotiables for advertising. What were some of the big ones?
Well, the big one was always advertising is salesmanship in print. It wasn't art, it wasn't entertainment, it was selling.
Okay.
Which led him to say things like, brilliant writing has no place in advertising. He found frivolity has no place. Definitely avoid humor, because spending money is usually serious business.
Pretty strict view, no jokes allowed.
Not in his ads, generally. He was incredibly focused on efficiency. He even calculated the cost per word in national ads, like $10 a word back then. So every single word had to pull its weight, had to count to the limit.
Wow, $10 a word. Puts pressure on.
Right. And that's why he was skeptical of things like oversized type or colored pictures, unless his tests, his trace returns, prove they actually paid for themselves. It was always about the ROI.
Always back to the results. And that connects to his insistence on specifics over vague claims, right?
Absolutely. He hated platitudes, best in the world, cheapest in the long run, the most economical. He said that stuff does not create conviction. It's just empty noise.
So what does create conviction?
Specifics. When we make specific and definite claims, when we state actual figures or facts, we indicate weighed and measured expressions. It sounds credible because it is specific.
Makes sense.
And interestingly, he also advised against negative advertising. Don't bash the competition or focus on fear. Instead, show and feature the happier results which come from your products or methods.
Focus on the positive outcome.
Yeah, because ultimately, people are seeking happiness, safety, beauty, and content. Appeal to those positive desires, solve their problems, and show them the happy result.
Now, later in life, he called starting his own businesses my great mistake. But not because they failed, right? It was the opposite.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. His mistake was that he didn't do it sooner. He felt he should have become an entrepreneur earlier in his career.
And he did eventually start his own ventures.
He did. He built a really successful cosmetics business centered around this actress, Edna Wallace Hopper.
Hopper. I think I've heard that name.
Yeah, she was famous. And the angle was, even though she was grandmother's age, she looked incredibly young, like a girl of 19.
The classic beauty secret angle.
Exactly. Hopkins marketed her secrets of her youth and beauty, basically packaging and selling her formulas. And he stuck to his guns, pure direct-to-consumer. He boasted, we have never had a salesman, we have never asked a dealer to buy. Just direct response advertising.
Consistent right to the end. So when you look at his whole life, his whole career, what really drove him? If it wasn't just money or fame, what was the motivation?
He's actually pretty explicit about this in his writing. He says, I have not even had a conscious desire to succeed, Money means nothing to me, save that my Scotch instinct rebels at waste.
Interesting. He didn't care about being rich.
Apparently not in the accumulating sense. He said he found happiness living simply, even after experiencing luxury. For him, the drive was the work itself. Work is both my occupation and my recreation.
The challenge of it.
Yeah, I think so. The joy that I had of making my own success, as he put it, solving the puzzle, figuring out the psychology, seeing the results. And maybe that connection back to the simple people he understood so well, it wasn't about status. It was about the intellectual satisfaction of making things work.
So as we wrap up here, the next time you, listening, see an ad, maybe scrolling on your phone, watching TV, whatever, think about Claude Hopkins for a second. Ask yourself, is this ad just using vague words, or is it giving me a specific, real benefit?
Yeah, is it just trying to be clever or funny, or is it actually trying to solve a problem I might have using facts I can, sink my teeth into?
Because this deep dive into my life in advertising, it really shows that some principles are just timeless, aren't they? Understanding people, testing your ideas, backing things up with proof.
Absolutely. And it leaves us with a pretty important question today, I think. We've got all this data now, AI, incredible analytics. But are we really using it to apply these kinds of scientific, human-centered approaches that Hopkins pioneered?
Or are we just throwing more stuff at the wall, hoping something sticks, relying on trends instead of tested principles?
It's something to think about. In this age of information, are we truly connecting or just creating more noise? What's the biggest thing you take away from Hopkins' journey and his methods?